damned basement is getting on my nerves. I would have long ago spit on everything and made my way out, but that creature upstairs just won't leave. I don't know if it senses me or something, but I constantly hear it. It's out there, on the streets, wandering among overturned strollers and abandoned cars. Empty windows watch over it, trash worships it like a new god. A new crown of the universe. I'm in the basement, which used to be a grocery store. Now it's my citadel, my bunker. Here I have everything necessary for a somewhat tolerable survival. Boxes of canned food and beer, a few shelves with still fresh bread, fruits, even money. A whole cash register full of colorful bills and assorted coins, which I can now guiltlessly plaster the walls with. As for weapons, I only have 2 broad knives and a meat cleaver. Still better than nothing. Now if only I knew how to use them. In the past, when words had meaning and the world was ruled by the lie called humanity, I didn't feel a particular need to master the art of fighting with a meat cleaver. Nobody did. That's why people went to fitness clubs or took driving lessons and enrolled their children in various music and art classes. That's why they came home, sat in front of the television, opened newspapers, turned on computers, grew fat, aged, degenerated. Nobody ever understood how useful a meat cleaver could be. They eventually realized, of course, but it was too late. I'm training. I stand in the middle of the little store in a stance borrowed from Chinese action movies and swing the meat cleaver around me like a madman. Like a madman, exactly. I have no one to be ashamed in front of anymore. There are no more people here, except for the shopkeeper, of course. I jumped over her 2 days ago when I rushed in here. She's probably still lying there on the steps in front of the door. Let her be, she won't bother anyone. In short, I found myself quite a comfortable little basement. There's even a toilet here. But the creature outside turns this hospitable shelter into a closed trap, and I feel uneasy about this situation. Speaking of situations, do you know how many times you can play solitaire before the meat cleaver smashes the monitor? I managed to do it exactly 172 times. I used to despise computer solitaire games. They made me sick to the point of nausea. But back then, everything was different. Back then, the dead lay in the ground, and everyone else agonized over the question of whether there was life after death. 2 days ago, that question abruptly transformed from a burning issue into a senseless rhetorical one. Look at it, that very life after death, shuffling through the streets, grunting incoherently, and dreaming of only one thing, to devour. Zombies. Sinister voodoo mystery, digested by Hollywood into mindless yet endearing kitsch. That's what awaited the stunned humanity, reeling from its own impunity, in the dark alley of another Christmas day. The angels didn't blow their trumpets, the earth and sky didn't ignite, the long-awaited asteroid didn't arrive from outer space, and no extraterrestrial civilization invaded. The ozone layer held up against it all. The grand machine of civilization, swollen with self-satisfaction, collapsed overnight, as if a wind-broken, rotting tree, and I collapsed with it. I regained consciousness on a torn-apart street, littered with corpses, cars, and tattered jackets, and dashed aimlessly through the black, oily smoke, constantly risking stumbling upon danger. At the bus stop, beneath a vibrant collage of advertisements, lay a well-known official. His head was completely absent, and his arms were drenched in blood up to the elbows. A little further on, a relentless zombie persistently attempted to squeeze through the window of a newspaper kiosk, while the saleswoman screamed piercingly in terror. I picked up a brick from the ground and, rushing forward, delivered a forceful blow to the undead creature's back. The withered spine crackled satisfyingly and snapped. With a bewildered growl, the famished corpse turned towards me. On its face, covered in moist mold and black, ragged sores, its eyes stood out, watery and vacant, devoid of any semblance of meaning or consciousness. They were the eyes of a dead animal, not even human. It is impossible to describe the horror that seized me. I recoiled, narrowly evading its decaying teeth, and sprinted away at full speed, relying on the agility of my feet. The zombie shuffled after me, wheezing and clumsily flailing its arms in the air. Soon enough, I left it far behind, only to stumble upon a whole group of similar creatures a couple of minutes later. Upon spotting me, they let out joyful cries and hobbled towards me, a chaotic crowd of paralyzed clowns in costumes stained with dirt and blood. I threw my cell phone at them and, without slowing down, turned into the adjacent street. Somewhere beyond the houses, furious profanities resounded, while gunshots echoed from the opposite direction. People valiantly resisted their own fathers and grandfathers, who had resolved to restore order to the earth. Soon, I began to exhaust my strength. The zombies were relentless. The only option I had left to survive was to find shelter behind a thick iron door. Soon, such an opportunity presented itself to me. I spotted that little shop, descended the steps, leaped over the saleswoman, and slammed the heavy metal door behind me. It locked from the inside with a bolt. And so, I found myself here. At first, everything seemed fine, but the urge to leave this place grows stronger and stronger within me, even though I understand the risks of such recklessness. I harbor no illusions about my meat cleaver or my future, for that matter. Even canned food eventually runs out. Upstairs, for 2 days now, heart-wrenching screams, footsteps, and crashes can be heard. For 2 days, there has been a hunt, bloodshed, and burning houses up there. People devouring people. And there is one thought that haunts me. Somehow, it seems that, in the grand scheme of things, nothing has changed.
Stephen lived in an old mansion on the outskirts of town. The house exuded an air of mystery and darkness, with whispers of strange and inexplicable occurrences lurking within its walls. However, Stephen never gave any credence to these stories. He dismissed them as mere folklore and attempts to unsettle him.
One day, however, as I was returning home late, I noticed a crowd of people near the entrance. As I approached, I asked what was going on. It turned out that a man had suddenly become ill. They found him on the landing, almost unconscious, apparently having a heart attack. Conscious, apparently having a heart attack. A few days later, I noticed that the light in the elevator shaft was on all the time. This went on for several days in a row. I assumed it was due to repair work, as there were occasional bangs coming from the shaft. After a few days, the light in the shaft went out. I didn't think much of it. I went away for a week at that time, and when I returned, the grandmother of the building told me a story. It turned out that a young and beautiful girl lived in our building. I had been planning to meet her for a long time and even made a few attempts. The grandmother told me that they found her in the morning on the stairs next to the elevator. She had been lying there all night, covered with gray hair. They took her to the hospital, but she doesn't speak and stares into one place. I was saddened by this story, especially because I didn't understand what. One night, around midnight, I noticed that the light in the elevator shaft was back on. I was surprised because there wasn't supposed to be any repair work going on at that time. Then I got on and pushed the button for my floor, but as soon as the elevator stopped, everything suddenly went dark. The light disappeared both in the elevator and in the shaft, as well as in the building. Everything was plunged into darkness and silence. And then I heard a distinct grinding noise coming from the depths of the elevator.
Zombies. Sinister voodoo mystery, digested by Hollywood into mindless yet endearing kitsch. That's what awaited the stunned humanity, reeling from its own impunity, in the dark alley of another Christmas day. The angels didn't blow their trumpets, the earth and sky didn't ignite, the long-awaited asteroid didn't arrive from outer space. The grand machine of civilization, swollen with self-satisfaction, collapsed overnight, as if a wind-broken, rotting tree, and I collapsed with it. A wind-broken, rotting tree. I regained consciousness on a torn-apart street, littered with corpses, cars, and tattered jackets, and dashed aimlessly through the black, oily smoke, constantly risking stumbling upon danger. At the bus stop, beneath a vibrant collage of advertisements, lay a well-known official. I picked up a brick from the ground and, rushing forward, delivered a forceful blow to the undead creature's back. The withered spine crackled satisfyingly and snapped. With a bewildered growl, the famished corpse turned towards me.
However, the legend of Stephen's disappearance attracted a group of curious paranormal investigators. They decided to face their fears and unravel the mysteries of this dark place.
It is impossible to describe the horror that seized me. I recoiled, narrowly evading its decaying teeth, and sprinted away at full speed, relying on the agility of my feet. The zombie shuffled after me, wheezing and clumsily flailing its arms in the air. Soon enough, I left it far behind, only to stumble upon a whole group of similar creatures a couple of minutes later.
The explorers discovered a room that seemed to be the epicenter of a terrible ritual. Remnants of books and candles littered the floor, and amulets were scattered throughout the room. This was where Stephen had performed his fateful ritual. Suddenly, a strange light entered the room. The light grew brighter and brighter until it turned into a flickering portal. Horrible creatures began to emerge from the portal, uttering terrifying screams and shrieks. The explorers found themselves trapped with monsters bursting out of another dimension. They rushed out in panic, but the portal was impenetrable. One by one they were captured and devoured by the ruthless creatures, leaving no trace. None of the explorers returned. The ruins of the mansion remained abandoned, and the walls continued to exude evil and darkness. The legend of the ritual became even more terrifying, driving away all who dared risk their lives to uncover its secrets.